40 for Rateable Crest Titans.
Welcome to the start of the new season here in the AWDC Britpart Comp Safari Championship. Last season brought us all the usual entertainment, close battles on the courses, determined driving from start to finish, and deserved winners, as we've come to expect. And 2024 looks like being no different. Round 1 attracting a fantastic entry, and the championship bringing back some favourite venues to the roster, as well as some new additions to the calendar. 8 rounds make up this year's championship, bookended with trips to Walters Arena in Wales for rounds 1 and 8. Round 2 takes us to Clouds Hill, known to many as the Bovington Tank Training Grounds. Then it's back to Wales for round 3 and the hilltop venue at Ebbw Vale, before the long-standing round in the calendar at Minehead in Somerset, a favourite with our competitors. A new venue close to both Wales signals the start of a short summer break. Then after the break, we hit the courses again. Crews heading to Ilfracombe, steep hills and fantastic views, making that venue unique and popular. And for round 7, it's another new venue in Stroud, which will be one to look forward to. It'll level the playing field for our competitors as well. For those of you new to the show and new to the sport, firstly, welcome. The competition here is made up of various different classes, broadly based on the level of modifications and the engine capacity. Class 1 is where you'll find your production cars. Only light modification from a standard road car in this class, focused mainly around safety as you might expect. Then Class 2 is where you'll find your modified production cars. Mod Prod cars have a few modifications in the realms of performance and lightening beyond that level to be included in Class 1. Class 3 is for all two-wheel drive cars, as you can imagine. Not a popular choice when it comes to Comp Safari, but often competitive. Two-wheel drive at a disadvantage at most of our courses compared to the four-wheel drive cars, but that's not to say that there aren't a few who go well in this class of car. Class 4 is for beam-axle cars with diesel engines. This class has produced some strong overall results in the right hands over the years. And in Class 5 this season, it's split into 5A and 5B. These classes are for vehicles with independent suspension and is predominantly for the UTV buggy style vehicles, with 5A being up to 1800cc and 5B being just over 1800cc up to 2.5 litre. Class 6 and 7 are for beam axle cars, with Class 6 for cars less than 4 litre and Class 7 being for cars over 4 litre. And Class 8 and 9 are for independent suspension cars, with 8 being less than 3.6 litre, 9 being for cars over 3.6. These two classes would usually be the ones that we find our event winners nestling in. But in recent years, the Class 5 UTVs have proven that they're more than capable of overall event wins as well. In other words, you don't know where to look, and that is the excitement of this opening round. So now we know what to expect. Let's get straight out onto the action on the course here at Walters Arena. And it would be the early lead for Kevin Stubbs. A good lead as well in that position. Not been to the venue for a number of years, so this was a pretty impressive start. This would be the first time out in the new Can-Am Maverick R for Paul Rowlands and Neil Lloyd on a Comp Safari. Only one other non-safari event before this to test the car. They get a puncture on the first run of the day, frustration early into the course. But thankfully for them, they still managed to end the second run with second place overall, leading 5A. A new car as well to start the season for Jason Rowlands and Liam Dudley. Well, a new old car back in the Loft House Freelander for the first time in 18 months. It would take them a little time to get back into the swing of things, but they were going well. Third place overall for now. No punctures for the pair, however, they do knock one of the wheels, buckling it and slowing their progress. They lie second in Class 8 as well for now. Fourth place at this stage will be Matthew Hall. His car not ready for the first round, so he was being loaned one of the Par Homes team cars. The first time driving it was loading it onto the trailer, so the position so far was pretty impressive, lying second in the Class 5A. Simon Cooper would be another driver not to have been to this venue in a while. He leads the way though, nevertheless, in Class 9 by the end of Run 2. having just a 2-second advantage in 5th place as well. And behind Cooper on the overall results will be Rob Morris and Kevin Powell. They were enjoying the mix of technical and fast sections on the course, ending the morning with 6th overall, 3rd in Class 8. Rob Scone hadn't been out for around 4 years. This time, Tom Aubrey alongside, a new partnership, and things were pretty much going to plan. They do get a 1-minute time penalty for hitting some of the stage furniture though when they get a little too over-enthusiastic, but we can forgive them at the opening round, can't we? A fastest time as well, so they were going pretty well at the moment in 7th place. Peter Jackson will be the only crew this weekend taking advantage of the split in Class 5. The only crew in Class 5B, in fact, this time out. But he was still going well, lying in 8th place on the overall leaderboard. Hemi Smith was back again this season after a good finish last year, lying within the top 10 overall after the morning's and indeed the season's first runs. 9th overall, 3rd in Class 5A for now. And rounding out the top 10 was Brian Birch. A strong start to the season with the lead in Class 6 as well at this stage in the event. We move on to some of those class positions outside of the overall top 10 leaderboard, and it would be the lead in Class 3 for Ed Smith. However, he was the only one in the class, so it would be the overall times he'd be keeping his eye on as he ends the morning in 11th. Tom Woodward and Oakley Hayward were sharing the driving this weekend, coming from a motocross background, so being on 4 wheels was something very different. They'd unfortunately snap a shaft as well on the first run of the day, but it didn't damage their times or their confidence too much, ending run 2, 12th overall, 4th in Class 5A. Just behind our motocross specialists in the class and overall positions will be Paddy Barker. 5th place in the class, just 4 seconds the difference between them at this stage. And Lou Dodds and Lucy Jones were having a bit of a problem with only one of the 3 fans on the car working. Luckily, this was March in Wales, and it wasn't the height of summer. They get it sorted for the next run, though, nevertheless, ending the morning 2nd in Class 6, 14th overall, and ready for a big push now. For Kieran Jones, it will be the lead in Class 4. There were only a few in the class, but it was still competitive, and he still held the lead with 15th overall. After a couple of nightmare events last season, Bruce Mallet will be looking to get a better start to the season under his belt. This time with Adrian and Adam Beers sharing the navigating. They felt like it was going well, even if the driving was a little rusty by their own admission. But a misfire on the opening run would need looking at and wasn't the best way to start the season. In Class 7, though, it was a good start and indeed a good lead for Brian Dyke, taking the early advantage in the class, and with a good one at that, 17th overall and pretty comfortable for now. For Harry Nicol, it will be 18th place overall, 3rd place in the class, around a minute back in Class 6 from 2nd place. For Robert Jones, it will be 4th place in Class 9, only a couple of positions back on the overall leaderboard as well for Mallet up ahead in the class, and he ends the morning 19th overall. It was a new car to start the season for Jason and Deb Morgan. They must have forgotten what the weather was like in the UK though, because they bought another one without a windscreen. They get a puncture close to the start of the opening run of the day, losing them a couple of minutes and putting them back in 20th overall. And Daniel and Alan Wilcox will be the first of our Class 1 runners in the Freelander. They were going well in the class with just over 30 seconds the lead in 21st place. And another new car, this time the first event for James and Philippa Tennant in theirs, having only used it on a test prior to this. They were finding it was much more stable than the old one, giving them much more confidence out there on the course. But unfortunately for them, 3 punctures in only 2 runs will be making things hard going and keeping them down in 22nd overall for now. 2nd place in the Class 1 fight would be this man, Thomas Parker. A little way to go to catch that class lead, but as we've already seen on the results, it only takes a puncture or an issue for someone to drop a big handful of time, so anything could happen just yet. It was early days. And in the lead of Class 2 this weekend were Jonathan Harford and Daniel Drummond. And they take it by a good margin as well at this point. Consistent times over the first 2 runs would be only a few seconds apart. So they were going pretty strong right off the start. Nick Collins and Alison Brooke would also have a good start to the day. No issues at all for the pair, who end the morning second in Class 7, 25th overall. Second place in Class 4, meanwhile, will be Barry Dodd. Not close enough to the class lead to impact there, but still pushing on in 26th on the overall leaderboard. Eric Murray will be the third of our Class 1 crews, out this season in the Ravenel-backed Freelander. A great opportunity provided by Ravenel for a young driver, and it was going well so far. A change to a new purple colour scheme for Paul and Nathan Kite this season, as well as a change to Nathan taking over most of the driving as well. They were lying third in Class 4 at this stage, from 28th on the overall leaderboard. For Martin Clark, it will be a place back in 29th. Just 2 seconds back though, also lying 4th in Class 1 as well. And Jonathan Damrell and Nick Blundell came here to get a finish and to run that newly rebuilt engine in. Their drama started, however, before the event did, with the car towing their caravan breaking down. They'd have to be recovered home and start again with a different tow car. So they would just be glad to make it through 2 runs with that bad luck hopefully now behind them. Johan Leroux would be the second of our Class 2 crews, and you could see why. He was pushing the car well. The times on the first 2 runs of the day identical, so the pace was pretty steady up there as well. That wouldn't be the case though for Sam Burley. A minute faster on the second pass over the course and lying in 32nd place overall, 5th in Class 9. 5th in Class 1, meanwhile, will be Adrian Llewellyn, the Land Rover Discovery going well. He too also gets a time a minute faster on the second time through, so things were certainly going in the right direction after a positive start. Margaret and Mike Bakewell were back out again this season, and we were glad to see them. At this stage in the event, they were 34th place overall, 4th, though, in Class 7. Chris and David Bowler, meanwhile, were struggling a little with the water on the first run. It was causing them some issues. They'd be limping around the course to finish a few minutes slower than we knew they were capable of. The second run was going much better, though. Not in the usual car this time out. For James Withers and Andy Kent, it would be 6th place in Class 9, 26th on the overall leaderboard. And 37th overall will be Adam Warts and Peyton Lewis. They were lying 4th place in Class 4 as well at this stage. Douglas Devenall-Batt certainly wasn't where he should have been on the leaderboard, usually fighting for our overall podium places here in the AWDC, but a maximum on the first run would put him way down the order and into a chasing and probably frustrated position. 28th place overall, 8th in the class, and it will be some comeback to get some worthwhile points from this first round. Another crew experiencing early problems here will be Scott Benwell, having to pull over on the first run trying to fix the car by the side of the course. It wasn't a fast repair, and it would be a maximum time. Run 2, though, would go much better. A little consolation at least. This would be the first time out racing in the AWDC for Shabs Piercy and Paul Rain. It wasn't a straightforward run so far, though. A previous car taking out the timing equipment, meaning that they'd have to take a nominal time for the first run, and they'd get red flagged on the second. A rerun for that one, but they'd break a belt on the car while out for that second run, giving them a maximum. What a start. This end of the overall leaderboard would of course be full of people having issues, and it would be a maximum for Paul Johnson on that first run of the day. A shame because he looked to be going well, and the time for run 2 was much better, making it even more frustrating. For Nick Fleming, it would be just 1 run completed in full, stopping on the second run, not going any further. The time from the opening run, though, was good. Ross Williams wouldn't get a clean single run this morning. 2 maximum times, the second run breaking down in front of our cameras and having to be recovered. Not a good start at all here at the opening round. And for Connor Francis, it will be a maximum on run 1, the final time on the board for the Freelander driver. So with the morning complete, the leaderboard at the top of our first round is shaping up like this. Unfortunately, an accident on the course would cause a big delay in the action, resulting in the event being shortened to only 4 runs. But that was still enough for Shabs Piercy and Paul Rain to get their first taste of Comp Safari, and they'd be back. A sheared ball joint and brake issues, though, would mean it wasn't a good weekend as far as the results were concerned. Chris and David Bowler wouldn't make it to the end of the event in one piece. They'd hit a tree, causing some damage to the steering. Taking 3rd in Class 2, 37th overall, though, would be damage limitation. And a maximum time on the final run of the day would be a less than ideal end for Sam Burley, needing to be recovered from out on the course. It was still a finish, though, but down in 36th overall. Johan Leroux was still pushing the car well, but a maximum on the final run would see the overall results suffer, ending the event 25th overall, 2nd in Class 2. And it was a disappointing debut in the new car for Philippa and James Tennant. A good run on run 3 would show some promise, but then they'd suffer a failed wishbone on run 4. It would be the end of the road for the pair here at the opening round. In 33rd overall by the end of the event, it will be Brian Dyke, taking 4th in Class 7 as well. And for Paddy Barker, it will be 32nd. Like many others at this end of the leaderboard, it will be down in part to a maximum time on the final run of the day. James Withers and Andy Kent would in fact be the first ones going up the list to not have a maximum on the final run. They've had a good clean run to take 31st overall, 5th in Class 9. 30th overall wasn't the finish that Douglas Devenall Bat would have wanted, but seat time at this early stage in the season was also important. Not a comeback from the morning's maximum, but a worthwhile weekend with the times after that. For Adam Warts and Peyton Lewis, it will be 4th place in Class 4. A bad time on run 2, putting them a little further down the order than they could have been. And Margaret and Mike Bakewell get to the end of the event without any major issues. They take 3rd place in Class 7 as well as 28th overall. Jonathan Damrell and Nick Blundell were only going for a finish this weekend, and they did just that. They were happy with their times though as well, taking 2nd in Class 7. It was a good start to the season and looking like they were getting some of the reliability back that they'd been missing last season. For Adrian Llewellyn, it will be 5th place in the class at the end of the first round, 26th overall. Paul and Nathan Kite would get a puncture on run 3, but they'd make it back to change it okay and not lose much time in the process, luckily for them. They get 3rd place in Class 4 this weekend, 25th overall. And we'd have a bit of a fight on for the podium in Class 1. Eric Murray eventually taking 4th place in the class from 24th on the leaderboard. Just ahead, meanwhile, on the overall and class results will be Martin Clark. 3rd in class, 23rd overall. For Barry Dodd, it will be 2nd in Class 4, also ending the event 22nd on the overall times as well. Nick Collins and Alison Brooke would have a good day. No issues at all, which was rare here at the opening round, wasn't it? No punctures even. Not having to put a spanner on the car all day, in fact. They take the Class 7 victory, as well as 21st on our leaderboard. Class 2 winners here at round 1 would be Jonathan Harford and Daniel Drummond. They were putting in some strong times to take 20th as well. Thomas Parker would get a puncture on the final run, but manages to get the car to the finish. 19th place, 2nd in Class 1. But the class winners this weekend in Class 1 will be Daniel and Alan Wilcox. A good run from them to take victory, and with just less than a minute by the end of the event, which could have been closer had it not been for that puncture from their closest rivals.
It has. It's been a good weekend. Quite a few stoppages on track, but the track has really favoured the Freelanders.
It's been quite rough out there. Have you escaped any punches and things?
Yeah, no punches luckily. We're normally a magnet for rocks. No punches. It's the first part of the track's really rough, but then yeah, if you can get through that, you get to enjoy the faster sections in the middle.
For Harry Nicol, it will be a podium in the class. He finishes the event 17th overall, 3rd in Class 6 this weekend. And it had been a strong afternoon for Jason and Deb Morgan. Apart from muddy faces, they take 16th place on the overall results, 4th in Class 5A. 3rd in that class will be Hemi Smith. Unfortunately for her, dropping down the order slightly in the final stage. She loses over a minute, actually getting caught out there on the course. For Kieran Jones, though, it will be the class victory in Class 4. A good, solid end to the day from 14th on the overall leaderboard as well. Luke Dodds and Lucy Jones having a good, clean run. Happy with that result. They take 2nd in Class 6, 13th overall. Bruce Mallet with Adrian and Adam Beer alongside will be happy enough this weekend. There were still some setup changes needed on the car, but they knew where the time to be had was, and they knew there was more to come, crucially, on the following rounds. Brian Birch, though, would have a good weekend at the opening round of the season, just missing out on a top 10 finish, but taking the Class 6 victory, and that was a welcomed start from 11th.
Excellent. First win for me. So really chuffed for the day, really chuffed for the car. First day with the car. So what a bloody car. Great, love it. Had a great day. Thank you. We had a lot of delays, unfortunately, but been good.
We're on to the top 10, and in 10th place it was Robert Jones, taking 3rd in Class 9 as well with that result. The times were good for Tom Woodward and Oakley Hayward as they get used to the move from 2 wheels to 4. They take 9th place overall, 2nd in Class 5A. A great debut for the pair. Rob Scone and Tom Aubrey would have issues catching people on the course through the afternoon runs, obviously meaning that they were going well, but the hold-ups would cost them dearly. They end the event 8th place overall, 2nd in Class 9, and perhaps wondering what might have been. For Peter Jackson in the 5B class, though, it would just be himself as far as class honours were concerned. So that class victory was in the bag, but more importantly, it was a 7th place overall finish. A great end to the first round. Rob Morris and Kevin Powell had enjoyed their event here at Walters Arena, as they should, taking the Class 8 victory and an emphatic 6th place overall. They enjoyed the mix of conditions that the opening round had thrown at them. And for Simon Cooper, it will be 5th place overall, taking the Class 9 victory as well in the process. A good, solid weekend without any issues out there on the course. Matthew Hall was happy with a clean run throughout the day. Wasn't something we could say for many of our crews. All close on the times as well and no issues, meaning that the runs were enough to get him the Class 5A victory, as well as just missing out on a podium in 4th. And it was a good day in the car as far as the overall times were concerned as well for Paul Rowlands and Neil Lloyd. Times looking good, the new car performing well from the start, and they take the final step on the podium in 3rd. It would actually be a position that they shared, on times at least, with son Jason Rowlands, Liam Dudley alongside. They had a good afternoon, equaling the times by the finish, but they take that 2nd place based on them putting in a faster time for the tiebreak. You can't get a closer finish than this on the podium. And at the opening round. Bodes well, doesn't it, for a good battle this season. But ahead of that battle for 2nd and 3rd, it would be a great run for Kevin Stubbs to take victory this weekend. The first time out in the car, and it wasn't actually his car either. A trouble-free run would see him taking the win by just over a minute. So we've reached the end of the opening round of the AWDC Britpart Comp Safari Championship, and the leaderboard at the top looks like this.
Yeah, it's been good. The weather was a bit grim yesterday, but this morning it started off a little bit drizzly rain, but it cleared up and it's been good. Yeah. A bit wet on the first run, but yeah, it's good.
It's been a while since you've raced at Walters. Have you found the course?
It has been, I think, about 9 years ago, I think, last time, but it's been, I sort of know what it's like, but it was a lot rougher than what I thought it was going to be, so yeah, good.
It's a different car this weekend, but it's not yours.
No, I'm just, it's a French car, it's a Fouquet car, which we've just, a customer of mine's bought it, so I'm just testing it. So it seems to be working all right.
Next up, the championship heads south to the Clouds hillside. A tricky one for the crews, as the venue is usually host to military tank training. We will, of course, be there to bring you all of the action. Just stay tuned to our page in the coming weeks. Thank you for watching.
Care 40 for Rateable Crest Titans.